Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
No more deportations, fund health care and education.
No more deportations, fund healthcare and education.
No more deportations, fund health care and education.
No more
deportations,
fund healthcare and education.
No more deportations,
Fund healthcare and education.
no more deportations.
Fund healthcare and education.
Thank you everybody for coming out. We are here to defend Zahid Chaudhry, other immigrants, other anti-war activists who have been attacked, abducted, and detained by ICE. Behind us is the Northwest Detention Center. This is a horrific detention center run by the infamous GEO Group, which is responsible. Boo! These private detention centers have been funded by both Democrats and Republicans. They've been used to detain and attack immigrants, and the latest abduction, and there's been more I'm sure since, but Zahid Chaudhry, an anti-war activist, a disabled and decorated veteran, was abducted 2 days ago at a citizenship hearing in Tukwila, Washington. We have to demand his release. We have to demand his immediate citizenship, that he be given his citizenship. We have to demand the release of all immigrants who have been abducted and detained by ICE. We have to demand an end to the deportations, to shut down detention centers like this, and to shut down ICE.
Yeah.
Woo!
Shut down ICE!
Shut down ICE! Shut down ICE!
Shut down ICE! Shut down ICE! Shut down ICE! Shut down ICE!
Our first speaker today is an anti-war activist. She's also married to Zahid Chaudhry, Melissa Chaudhry. Give it up.
Brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors, people of conscience, thank you for being here today. We are gathered here because something profoundly wrong has happened. My husband, Muhammad Zahid Chaudhry, a decorated, disabled U.S. Army veteran, a peaceful, law-abiding pillar of this community for more than 25 years, and a husband and father with American citizen children, came to his naturalization hearing in good faith, expecting citizenship. If you were there that day, you know that 2 minutes before he went back, he said, "It's going to be 10 minutes, I'll be back with you, an American citizen." Instead, he was taken. He was disappeared into this detention center with no warning, no explanation, and no mercy.
Shame!
This is not just about Zahid. This is about the soul of America. The promise of this country is as simple as it is profound. Liberty and justice for all. Those words are not conditional. They do not apply only to the wealthy, only to the white, or only to those who wield power. They apply to veterans in wheelchairs. They apply to mothers and fathers. They apply to immigrant families who have built their lives here in peace. They apply to all of us.
That's right.
Woo!
When I left home this morning, I kissed my nursing baby goodbye. And I told my two-year-old daughter that I was coming here to stand with people who love us, to do our best to bring her Baba back home. She put her tiny hands on my cheeks, pressed her face to mine, and kissed me. And then she said, in her sweetest little voice, "Bring him back to me." That's what this is about. A little girl who just wants her father. A baby boy who needs his Baba. A family that belongs together. And yet, when I spoke to Zahid for a grand total of 5 minutes on Friday morning, he told me he was being held alone and nearly incommunicado. Every other detainee has access to Wi-Fi on tablets to call their families. He does not. As a permanently disabled veteran in a wheelchair, he's been denied accommodations that are his right. He was given no accessible bathroom, no accessible bed. The bed he was assigned was so high it took 3 other people to lift him into it. His medications, thyroid medication, pain relief for his broken back, medicine he needs to keep from going blind, are not being administered in a timely or consistent way. This is not just cruel. This appears to be a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I want you to think about that. A disabled veteran, an honorable soldier who gave his body for this country, a man who counseled suicidal veterans, who sheltered abused women and children, who volunteered as a paramedic and a firefighter to serve our communities. He is being treated like this in a federal facility on American soil.
Shame!
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 That should enrage every single one of us, because if this can be done to Zahid, it can be done to anyone. When masked, unidentified people kidnap our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, and our family, that is not law enforcement, that is terrorism! And we must all stand against it together. Right now, my husband's body is held in a cell, but the principle we are fighting for is so much bigger. We are fighting for the principle that families belong together, that veterans deserve honor, not cruelty, that this government cannot override the Constitution and turn civil immigration into a criminal dragnet run by violent, unaccountable agencies. And I need to say this, our family is incredibly well supported. We are resourced, we are connected, and yes, we are white privileged. And if this is happening to us, what is happening to the thousands and thousands of families who don't have these networks, who don't have the press, who don't have lawyers and elected officials who take our calls? I feel that in my bones. My fight is not just for Zahid, but for all of them, for all of us. And let's be clear about the context. We are living in a moment where federal officials are threatening our state government simply for following the Constitution and Supreme Court precedent.
That's right.
For the Attorney General of the United States to threaten our governor with jail time for not diverting state resources to federal immigration enforcement, that's federal overreach, pure and simple. So today we say enough! Enough of the fear, enough of the targeting, enough of the ethnic cleansing policies that treat people with brown skin as if their lives and service and families do not matter.
That's right.
That's great.
That's right.
Right.
Woo! We know the truth. America is at its strongest when it is a multicultural democracy with a safety net, where people of every background stand side by side, defend one another, and lift each other up. And I must speak plainly about the times we are living in. We are now up against a government that is openly embracing fascism. History teaches us something chilling. Once fascists win elections and consolidate power, they have never, not once, been ousted through democratic means. Right now, our homegrown fascists have not fully consolidated power. That means this is the moment of decision.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is when we must be brave. If we do not get uncomfortable now, raise our voices, organize, take risks, and seize our rights, we will be forced to get far more uncomfortable later, with far less say in what happens to us. This is not alarmism, I wish it was. This is the weight of history on us now. And the question is whether we today have the courage to claim what it means to be American, liberty, justice, and democracy for all before it is too late.
Woo!
Naturalize Zahid. Give him the citizenship he has earned through service and through his life here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo! And 3, return immigration to its rightful constitutional place as a civil process. End the militarized, masked, violent dragnet that terrorizes our communities.
Abolish ICE!
My friends, the eyes of history are upon us. My husband's case is one case, but it is also a test. Will we stand for the Constitution? Will we stand for families? Will we stand for justice or allow fear and cruelty to define us? It is time for every one of us to claim what it means to be American and live those principles out loud. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Government of, by, and for
The
people. Liberty and justice for
all.
And lifting our lamp beside the golden dawn. I ask you, not only for Zahid, not only for my children who need their father, but for the America we still believe in. Stand with us, speak out, fight back, refuse to be silent. Because liberty and justice for all must mean liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Free Zahid now!
Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now!
Thank you, Melissa, and solidarity with you and your family. We need to keep fighting. We need to escalate and build this movement. And we will be back out here tomorrow at 2 p.m. to protest again, to demand his release, to demand his citizenship, to demand the shutting of this facility and an end to these deportations everywhere. We will be out of here tomorrow with other groups, including Washington Can, the Washington Citizen Action Network, and we have a representative of Washington Can here today, Michaela Romero, who will be speaking next about this horrible detainment and the deportation fighting against them.
I don't know how I go after that, honestly. So hello everyone, my name is Michaela Romero. I lead the communications for Washington Community Action Network while conducting neuroscience research at the University of Washington. A mom and a proud daughter of bold immigrants from the beautiful country of Mexico. I am pained to be with you today. Like many of you, I've been scrambling and working all hours, connecting and coordinating to bring Zahid home. My family has experienced deportation, naturalization, fear, and the sense of abandonment from the limbo in between. So when they abducted Zahid, they didn't just come for one of the brightest smiles in every room, or the leader of the next generations. They came for my uncle, father, cousin, and I know that each of us here today, the people that couldn't make it and those that are coming tomorrow, all feel the same, and we will not stop until we bring Zahid home.
That's right.
There are too many striking things about Zahid for any one of us or the whole of us to ever capture. The one thing I know the media will latch onto is his military service. As someone that spends the holidays at Tahoma National Cemetery visiting my family, who has wept at the folding of the flag as it's being presented to the loved ones left behind, Zahid's military service is not decorative. His decorated service isn't performative. When we talk about bringing our troops and our service members home, we mean all of them. Bring Zahid home. He is now being brought into a careless war, a new battle that that he does not need to fight. What they want is a genocide of hopes and the American dream. We want to see the end of all war. We want peace for our children and for our communities. We want to bring Zahid home. The war that Zahid is facing right now is one that I know well from a few different points. I'm a social isolation researcher. I study solitary confinement and the abuses of its use by the state of Washington Department of Corrections. However, I didn't get into this work by chance. I was drawn into this work because, like Melissa, they took my anchor from me too. When my loved one was unjustly put into solitary confinement at the hands of our government, I had to forge a path forward to not only free him, but to free all others from these conditions that are funded by our taxpayer dollars.
Shame!
Shame! Year after year, our state gives the Department of Corrections millions to address solitary confinement without passing any legislation or oversight on how they do so, while their occupancy increases. A month ago, my fiance was finally freed from solitary confinement at the hands of our state. Now a month to the day later, Zahid sits in solitary confinement here at Northwest Detention Center at the hands of our federal government. This administration has spent months cutting our jobs, cutting our health care, telling us we don't have the money to care for our citizens and residents, charging us tariffs and taxes to afford their luxuries, and sink our tax dollars into torturing a true American hero, a family staple, leaving our community more broken and worse off for it, until we bring Zahid home. I, for one, have set a precedent. I will not stand for it. I will not stand for the use of torture. I will not stand for the funding of its use by our taxpayer dollars. I will not idly watch ICE abduct our loved ones from the streets. I will not stand for watching a family I love be torn apart. I will not stop until we bring Zahid home. Thank you.
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
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 This protest today is organized by Workers Strike Back in CAIR, Washington. We'll be joining a protest organized by Washington Can and other groups tomorrow, again at 2 p.m. Shama Sawant, the former Seattle City Council member, will be speaking at both of those rallies as well. And today I mentioned this protest also was organized by CAIR Washington. And we have here the executive director of CAIR Washington, Imraan Siddiqi. In CAIR Washington, it's the Council for American Islamic Relations. It's a grassroots advocacy and civil rights organization based in Seattle that serves the Muslim community across Washington state. It's a chapter of the Council of American Islamic Relations nationally. It's America's largest Muslim civil liberties group, and many of their members have played a strong and important role fighting against the wars, fighting against the genocide, fighting for the rights of Muslim Americans here. And so I want to introduce next Imraan Siddiqi.
Hi everyone, I'm Imraan Siddiqi. I'm the executive director of CAIR Washington. Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization here in Washington State since 2002. I came to the state in 2020, and one of the first people I met upon arriving here was Zahid. I would see him everywhere, like I go across the state serving our community. I would see him in gatherings, I would see him at different charitable events, and he always greeted me with a smile and with the absolute kindness of somebody who's experienced the state over the course of the long term, and he helped me get settled into here. I remember seeing him after the birth of his daughter, seeing the joy of fatherhood and pride that he was exuding. I remember seeing a man that, despite his disability and relying on a wheelchair, putting in more miles in blood and sweat and tears during his wife's congressional campaign, delivering and hammering in yard signs like it was nothing. But make no mistake, brothers and sisters, this is truly a struggle. This is a man who served his country, something society valorizes, being abandoned during his time of need. A person who has special needs being confined in an overcrowded ICE facility. We are sold a narrative of this being the land of opportunity and second chances, but I'm here to tell you that that only applies to certain people. You have people like Tuan Phan, a Vietnamese convert to Islam who paid his debt, he served his sentence, and was subsequently deported by this administration to South Sudan. Shame. Shame. You have a person who stands for fair wages in this country like Leila Juarez, picked up and put into detention center, into this very detention center, and forced out of this country. Shame. Shame. You have someone like Zahid who has used his voice to stand up against genocide, and now all of a sudden he's split up from his wife and 2 small children. Shame. Shame. These are the people that this administration is targeting. And at the same time, you have war criminals and murderers being welcomed with open arms in Washington, D.C. Shame! You have child predators being caught in Las Vegas and allowed to flee this country with no penalty. Shame! Is this what justice looks like? No! They're trying to build torture sites like this in Alligator Alcatraz while spending hundreds of billions of dollars expanding this racist police state. Meanwhile, they're stopping visas for medical care for child amputees from Gaza. Shame! Is this what justice looks like? No! We must continue to stand up and demand the release of Zahid and all of those unjustly detained at this facility and all of those like it across the country. Thank you. Shut down ICE! 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 Shut down ICE!
Thank you, Imran. I also want to recognize a couple of other groups, including the Backbone campaign that came with just incredible signs always, and also Veterans for Peace, which Zahid was a member and is a member of.
President of the Rachel Corrie chapter. President of the Rachel Corrie chapter of Veterans for Peace. My husband is the president of the Rachel Corrie chapter for Veterans for Peace in Olympia, Washington.
Yeah, I want to recognize Veterans for Peace and all of the work that they've done and the anti-war movement has built, because this is an attack on the anti-war movement. There's now more than 400,000 people who have been killed in Gaza by the Israeli state through this genocide, through this campaign now of mass starvation. This is an attack, we have to be very clear, this is an attack not only on the immigrants' rights movement and on immigrants nationally, but also on the anti-war movement and the movement against Gaza, the movement against the genocide in Gaza. And this has echoes of another case of Mahmoud Khalil, who was detained, who was abducted by ICE in one of the first high-profile cases of ICE abduction earlier this year. And we need to have mass protests. We should have had mass protests and strike action then. We need mass protests and we need strike action now to fight back against this, to shut down detention centers like this, to stop this. And we need the labor movement, we need rank and file members of the labor movement to demand that of their leaders, to demand that of the union leaders, that we organize strike action to fight back against this. We need a militant anti-war movement. And I want to introduce next someone who's been a leader in that movement, a leader in the anti-war movement, a longtime anti-war activist, an activist against the genocide in Gaza, Rizwan Samad.
Thank you all for being here and for answering the call on such a short notice. We are here because we see it. America is changing by the minute, but not as it was meant to. This nation, this great idea, the United States of America, a land of promise to the opportunity and freedom of all, is turning hostiles to its own people, especially those with brown skin, to the very immigrant and children of immigrants who helped lay its foundation. Mr. President, your grandfather crossed an ocean in 1885 for the same reason millions have, the promise of a better life. That is the American story. Senator Rubio, your family fled Cuba for the same reason. Your own family experience bears the painful complexity of our immigrant system, a deported relative, fractured family. That too is an American story. These stories are not weakness, they are our strength. They are our shared story. They are Zahid Chaudhry's story. They are the one story of America itself, a nation built by immigrants, for immigrants, always striving to perfect that promise. And we cannot, must not, speak of building America without speaking of millions of African Americans brought here in chains. They did not come by choice, yet they built the very foundation of this nation with their sweat and blood. They labored for future. They were denied paving a road of progress with their own broken back. Their history is not one of mere contribution, of unimaginable pain, an unbreakable spirit. That legacy lives on. Look around you. Their grandchildren are here today, standing on the shoulders of giants, carrying forward the fight to ensure this nation is inclusive of everyone, regardless of faith, skin color, creed, or economic status. Their struggle is the bedrock of our conscience, and their resilience is the heart of the American story. The American story also includes the Chinese laborers who helped lay the rails that connected New York to Seattle. With their own hand, it's the story of Europeans and Africans, of all people of the two worlds who brought to America rich culture, food, heart, and minds are of our shore. Zahid's story is the story of many Southeast Asians today, bringing brilliance to American software industry and compassion to hospitality industry and service to the others. Immigrants build this nation. We are not the fringe. We are the fabric. We are not the thread. We are the thread that hold this beautiful, diverse tapestry together. And you, Mr. President, you have the duty to spread fear. You have the duty not to spread fear, but to spread appreciation and love. Not to build walls, but to build bridges. Zahid Chaudhry is a U.S. veteran. He served this country. He put his life on the line for America. He returned home disabled, but he never blamed America. He proudly wears his medal. He keeps his head high in that wheelchair. He's an asset to this nation, not a burden. But let's speak a hard truth. The wealthy, their children rarely serve as the poor, the working class, and people like Zahid, who answer the call after asking everything from them. How everything of them, how then is tolerable to throw them away like they are garbage. You, Mr. President, said you care veterans. So is this how the honors them? more importantly, and on a truly personal note, from one parent to another, Mr. President, please stop separating children from their parents. I saw a video that will haunt me forever. A young mother clinching to a tree, clinching to hope so ICE won't take her. But they did. Now, America has a 4-year-old waiting, wondering when mommy is coming home. Zahid has a 2-year-old daughter waiting for her daddy, not knowing when he will return. Is this what you mean by making America great again? This is not greatness. This is cruelty. This is not a strength. This is a profound weakness. You have a choice. You can be remembered for a legacy of a fear, or as a president who leads, who unites, who remembers the immigrant promise that made his own family rise possible. Choose love, choose compassion, choose the America that made you, for choose to make America great again by making America good again. Thank you.
Free Zahid now!
Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now!
Next up, we have a member of Workers Strike Back. I mentioned this protest today is organized by CAIR Washington and by Workers Strike Back. We need to talk about next steps for how do we get organized? How do we escalate this fight? How do we build the movement for immigrants' rights, build the anti-war movement, have the kind of action, the kind of mass action that's needed, mass protests, mass civil disobedience, mass strike action. And we sent out an email yesterday to the labor leaders of Washington State, to the Democratic politicians of Washington State. We CC'd ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, demanding the release of Zahid, demanding his citizenship, demanding an end to the deportation, and calling on those labor leaders who were on that email to mobilize en masse to protest like this today, to protest like tomorrow, to call for strike action. The MLK Labor Council, which represents union members in King County, represents over 150,000 union members in that county alone. Washington State has over 500,000 union members. If the union leadership decisively called for mass protest action, mass strike action against these deportations, we could stop them today. That's the kind of action that we need. And so anyone who has not gotten that email, who hasn't sent an email from that, please send that email. Sign up with Workers Strike Back at the table over there so that we can get organized to fight back against these attacks, to escalate this fight, to build the kind of leadership that we need to call and organize actions like that. This is a first step. We need to get more organized. And I also urge everyone to come out on September 10th in Seattle at 6 p.m. to New Hope Baptist Church for our next monthly meeting of Workers Strike Back. If you're not able to get to Seattle on September 7th, we have a national online Zoom meeting of Workers Strike Back at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for those watching on the live stream. You should come out too. We need to get organized. And I want to introduce our next speaker, who is a longtime working class and anti-war activist. He's a member of the Green Party. He's also a member of Workers Strike Back, Jason Call.
Friends, comrades, and allies, my name is Jason Call. I was Jill Stein's campaign manager in 2024, and I'm currently managing the Green Party candidate Butch Ware's campaign for governor of California, running on a platform that includes non-cooperation with unconstitutional federal actions and divestment from genocide. I've known Zahid Chaudhry for about a decade, since we spent time together as local representatives on the Washington State Democrat Central Committee, Zahid and I recognized in each other fighters for real justice and against the oppression of the ruling class, which we often discussed as being a fundamental element of controlling powers in the Democratic Party. So as we're gathered here today to protest the wider injustices of the Trump administration and the particular injustice of our friend Zahid Chaudhry's detention, we would be remiss if we didn't identify the key milestones that brought us to this point. The Patriot Act, which set the stage for the eventual creation of ICE, passed with the near unanimous blessing of both warmongering imperialist parties. It expanded the surveillance state, gave law enforcement increased powers to abuse the American people, and provided the framework for mass deportations. We called it out back then. These are all hallmarks of a fascist state. Police funding and military funding have increased year after year, regardless of whether Team Red or Team Blue occupies the White House. The average municipality in America spends half of its budget on policing, not to mention the additional vast sums of money spent on payouts to members of the public whom police have routinely abused and mistreated, and to the families of those they have murdered. This, while Americans face massive inflation on the basics of dignified living. And while Americans struggled, both corporate parties bailed out their benefactors who crashed the economy in 2008, then continued to keep those malefactors in positions of power. And to add insult to long-standing industry, the disaster capitalist billionaire class more than doubled their wealth while 1 million Americans died in a pandemic. It should be noted that our country's health agencies have been so compromised by the corruption of private interests, half the country doesn't trust them to make good public health policy. And then there's the genocide. The genocide that both parties still support with full throat. This week we saw Democrat Wesley Bell's associates in Missouri violently assault anti-genocide protesters in an event. We saw Democrat Val Hoyle refuse to use the word genocide when confronted at a meeting with constituents. Excuse me. Give me a second here. Thank you. In Oregon, and we saw Katie Porter to refuse to address her support for AIPAC and Israel after a union event in Sacramento. And these last two are supposed to be part of the progressive wing. All these events over 25 years, milestones within almost everyone's lifetime here, are part and parcel of why we find our communities now under the constant threat of fascism, and people like Zahid finding themselves in detention and under risk of deportation. This has all happened before, including the looking away from a genocide by the majority of citizens. So if we don't want it to go further, we are going to have to seriously figure out how to grow and maintain anti-fascist solidarity, because everything we are witnessing now is a test of how much we will endure before we really fight back. And every passing day we don't stand up to it, the fascists become more bold, more aggressive, more harmful to our person and our communities. We don't have to repeat history. It isn't a foregone conclusion. I don't have the answers about what can and should be done. Hopefully those things will become more clear as the days pass. What I do know is that we have to stick together. We cannot look away, not from genocide and not from these brutal assaults and detentions. We also cannot look to the Democratic Party as a savior. Hashtag resist isn't going to cut it here.
That's right.
Washington Governor Bob Ferguson did a good thing, telling Pam Bondi where she can stick her or else. But the list of milestones that got us here were all overwhelmingly supported by Democrats. And they sure didn't say a whole lot when Joe Biden was caging kids at the border and when Obama was deporter-in-chief.
That's right.
Ultimately, the solutions lie outside the ruling class duopoly and with our local communities working to keep each other safe. Fuck Israel, fuck ICE, free Palestine, and free Zahid. Solidarity.
Thank you, Jason. And we also have to ask, as Jason said, where the hell are the Democratic Party politicians at protests like this, calling for mass rallies, calling for the action that's needed to actually fight Trump and these right-wing policies? Where are they? And we appreciate, we should recognize the few who have spoken out against the detainment of Zahid, including Seattle City Councilmember Rink, as well as Katie Wilson. Unfortunately, we also saw Alexis Mercedes Rink in her statement say that she's working with Representative Adam Smith, Senator Maria Cantwell, Senator Patty Murray to get him released. We have to be very clear. We cannot rely on the people like Adam Smith, like Maria Cantwell, like Patty Murray, who voted to create ICE, who voted to create the Department of Homeland Security, who voted for all of these billions of dollars that have funded the genocide. That is not the path to getting Zahid Chaudhry released. We need mass movements to demand his release, to demand his citizenship, to demand an end to the deportations. That is the path to victory, and we have to be very clear about that, and that is what we have to demand. I want to introduce our final speaker of the day. She is the former Seattle City Council member who led the fight for the highest minimum wage in the country. First $15 an hour, and with inflation adjustments, now $20.76 in Seattle. She led alongside a movement of working class people the shutdown of SeaTac Airport in the first Trump administration to fight against the Muslim ban, the attacks on Muslim immigrants in this country. She led and participated in peaceful civil disobedience and protest outside of the ICE building during the first Trump administration. She helped pass Indigenous Peoples Day, getting rid of the racist Columbus Day holiday. She led the fight for the Amazon tax, taxing the rich hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund crucially needed affordable housing in Seattle. Historic renters' rights, like the $10 a month cap on late rent fees, like 6 months notice of rent increases. She also worked alongside renters and tenants to fight rent increases at places like the Chateau Apartments, at places like Rainier Court. Historic victories, and she has stood up to all of these forces, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, big business, the warmongers, and ICE. Shama Sawant.
We're here to fight back against the vicious detention of longtime anti-war activist Zahid Chaudhry. Right now, Zahid is being held inside this facility, the Northwest Detention Center. He and his family need our full solidarity. My organization, Workers Strike Back, will be donating $1,000 to the fund that has been created to defend Zahid and fight for his release. I hope others here will support that also. Thank you to the Backbone Campaign and Veterans for Peace who are here. Thank you to the Indigenous and Urban Native activists who are here. Thank you to CAIR Washington, the statewide chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, for co-sponsoring today's protest rally. Thank you to La Resistencia and other immigrant rights organizations who have been holding protests here for years against the deportations and detentions. Thank you also to the Washington Community Action Network and other organizations who have called for a protest rally here tomorrow. Workers Strike Back is proud to support tomorrow's rally. Also, I will be speaking there tomorrow also, like right here, sorry. And we urge everyone to join us again tomorrow to make this a powerful weekend of protests to demand the immediate release of Zahid Chaudhry and that he immediately be given his U.S. citizenship.
Woo!
My fellow Workers Strike Back member Jason Call made a very important point that we need to take home with us today. We need powerful solidarity on the basis of shared working class interests if we are to defeat any of these horrors that are being perpetrated on tens of millions of American people. That is why As part of our work going forward, I really look forward to Workers Strike Back and Washington Community Action Network, Veterans for Peace, the Backbone Campaign, CAIR, the Indian American Muslim Council, and other organizations in our local area to work together and build a united struggle.
Woo!
We are fighting to stop the deportations, to shut down ICE, to end the genocide. We are also fighting against repression and retaliation against those of us who are fighting for all these demands as well. We are seeing this horrific act being done against Zahid. We are also seeing thousands upon thousands of anti-war activists being arrested and facing even worse consequences. We saw how the administration at Columbia University has suspended or expelled or revoked degrees. Can you imagine? And they call this sanctions against the students. And for what? For having the courage and the moral clarity to say no to a genocide? Are we going to accept these attacks?
No!
Similarly, 3 peaceful worker strike back activists were arrested only recently by the Renton Police Department. For what? For handing out leaflets at Renton Technical College, a public area outside a town hall held by Democratic Congressmember Adam Smith. The very same Democrat Adam Smith who called anti-war activists left-wing fascists and demanded that they be arrested.
Boo!
The U.S. deports more people than any other country in the world, and it has always been a bipartisan agenda of both the Republicans and Democrats.
That's right.
It is important that hundreds of thousands of American working people speaking up, marching and protesting, and indeed it's an international struggle that is forcing some of the progressive Democrats, a very, very few of them, to say something. For example, as M mentioned, Democratic Seattle City Council member Rink has called for Zahid to be released. However, Councilmember Rink has also said that her office was working with the offices of Democratic Congressmember Adam Smith and Democratic Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray.
Boo!
War criminals.
I think this is a real problem. It is irresponsible to mislead working people. We absolutely cannot put our faith in Democratic Party politicians like Adam Smith, Maria Cantwell, and Patty Murray, or in the Democratic and Republican parties as a whole. Smith, Cantwell, and Murray all voted to create ICE as part of their support for Republican President George W. Bush's horrific Homeland Security Act and the long-term bipartisan assault on immigrants. All 3 have also voted to send tens of billions of dollars for Israel's genocide on Gaza.
Boo!
All 3 are directly responsible for paving the way for the ongoing brutal attacks on working people and the anti-war movement by the Trump administration. Trump's ramping of deportations is dangerous. The estimates vary, but something like 150,000 people have been deported so far during his new term. But we saw in last year's election that both parties' candidates, both Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris, were each not competing on who will be a better representative of working people and the vulnerable, but were competing to be the best deporters.
That's right.
As well as the best builders of the border wall. Kamala Harris jeered at Donald Trump saying, hey, he didn't even succeed in building the wall. I will do that. Democratic President Joe Biden deported 4 million people, far more than Trump did in his first term. According to a September 2024 National Immigrant Justice Center report, an estimated 37,000 people were detained each day Under Biden, a 140% increase since Trump left office after his first term. Last year alone, Biden approved $3.4 billion for ICE to jail an average of 41,500 immigrants per day, historically high funding, surpassing all 4 years of the Trump administration. And according to the likely low official estimates, 23 people died in ICE custody under Biden. Before that, Democratic President Barack Obama became and still remains the deporter-in-chief, having deported more than 3 million immigrants in his 8 years as president, compared to 2 million deported during the 8 years of Republican George W. Bush as president.
Boo.
Just days ago, ICE under Trump signed a $30 million contract with Palantir, a dystopian corporation owned by dangerous warmongering billionaires like Peter Thiel, Alexander Karp, and Joe Lonsdale. This contract will allow ICE to use Palantir's so-called Immigration OS platform, which is artificial intelligence and data mining, to identify, track, and deport immigrants, especially immigrants who are fighting against the genocide in Gaza.
Boo.
But this contract is completely dwarfed by the contract that Biden and the Democrats gave Palantir in 2022, which was for an unimaginable $96 million. One example of the kind of software products those $96 million purchased for the Department of Homeland Security under Biden is something called the Investigative Case Management for the or ICM, to develop and maintain a massive database containing real-time tracking tools, visa records, and data from other agencies, including the FBI, CIA, DEA, and ATF.
Disgusting.
The ICM allows ICE agents to sort people by hundreds of highly specific categories, including physical traits like race, eye color, tattoos, administrative data like social security numbers, employment address, and bankruptcy filing, as well as port of entry and residence status. This is no less than a surveillance state.
That's right.
That's right.
Most of that money went to private corporations, obviously like Palantir, and also like the Geo Group, which runs this facility and profits of shockingly inhumane detention centers like this one. And in reality, let's be clear, this is the nature of capitalism. ICE detentions and raids and arrests and deportations, all of the wars, the genocide, all of this is a massive slush fund to give profits endlessly to the billionaires.
That's right.
That's
And
right.
it is not only the billionaires from Palantir, it is also the billionaires from Google, Amazon, IBM, all the tech industry, Caterpillar, the construction industry, Airbnb. All of these corporations profit from it. And who do you think voted for Biden's budget that allocated the $96 billion to the Department of Homeland Security? It was all, yes, all of the Democratic politicians in the House and the Senate. The genocide in Gaza is also a bipartisan project of the Democratic and Republican parties. The first 15 of the 22 months so far of the genocide were under Biden as president, and with the Senate and House Democrats in lockstep with Biden and the Israeli state. This is a Holocaust of the 21st century, and we must do everything we can to end it.
That's right.
But that is exactly why it is important for us to reject these dead-end strategies from these people who tell us that we should trust the very same rotten politicians who are among those responsible for all this in the first place.
That's right.
We need to build mass movements, yes, but these mass movements are going to meet a graveyard if they end up again trusting the Democrats or worse yet, Republicans. Mass
right.
movements have the potential to make breakthroughs only if the leadership of the movements is independent from the Democratic and Republican parties.
Right.
History shows that the threat of independent and organized working class power is the only thing that can defeat the warmongering billionaires and the two parties that represent them. And that is why we need to build independent working class movements around concrete demands. Stop the deportations. Shut down the detention centers. Shut down ICE. End all US military funding to the Israeli state. End the brutal Israeli occupations of Gaza and the West Bank altogether.
Yes.
And we need to join those with offensive demands. Free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the rich.
Woo!
National rent control. A $25 an hour national minimum wage, and it should be at least $30 an hour in big cities.
That's right.
Joining these offensive demands is crucial in order to make it clear that both immigrants and American-born working people are together getting screwed by the billionaires and their politicians.
That's right.
Both the Democrats, including the Democrats in Washington state, and Republicans tell American workers there is not enough money for affordable housing, for healthcare, for education, because immigrants are a drain on our budget. Bullshit! But in reality, all the money, the wealth, the tens of millions of American and immigrant workers generate through our labor is stolen by the billionaires in a massive ongoing highway robbery for their profits and for them to carry out perpetual war.
That's right.
War through bombing and bloodshed abroad, which goes hand in hand with class war inside the US by impoverishing working people year after year.
Right.
So how can we win these demands? As we said, we need to build mass ongoing protests. We also need mass civil disobedience, and we need mass labor strike action.
Yes.
Working people hold the power to stop Trump, to shut down the deportation machine, and to shut down ICE. But all that will remain latent power unless it is organized, especially in mass strike actions. Trump is deeply unpopular right now. But the congressional Democrats are even more unpopular than Trump, and that takes some doing. As the New York Times reported, don't take a word off a revolutionary socialist. It's the fucking New York Times that's saying this. This is a quote from the newspaper from 3 days ago. That the Democratic Party has been hemorrhaging voters since 2020. There has been a stampede. This is the New York Times word. There has been a stampede of working class voters away from the Democratic Party because of all their betrayals. Of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single state between the 2020 and 2024 elections, and often by a lot. And this means they lost ground because they lost ground in every state. It means they lost ground in every kind of state. Battleground states, blue states, red states. The Democratic Party's own pundits are saying that it is like the party has gone into a quote-unquote death cycle. And yet, what do we see most of the labor leaders and NGO leaders doing? They are busy trying to keep the Democratic Party on life support.
Yep.
And by doing that, they are fucking selling us out.
That's right.
They are selling out the working class. They are selling out people like Zahid. The working class, that same working class that according to poll after poll, including a CNN poll, that has shown itself ready, this working class that has shown itself ready for a new party that will fight for workers and not represent the greed of the warmongering billionaires.
Woo!
America's working class is ready. We need new labor leaders who will fight for this. That includes people like Chris Smalls, who not only won the first and only successful union drive at Amazon, but who is the only labor leader to stand up clearly against the genocide in Gaza, who has put his body on the line for the fight to end the genocide, and who has been very clear that we cannot rely on the Democratic Party, that working people need a party of our own. Instead of trying to reform the clearly unreformable Democratic Party, our task is to create a new party, but that is not going to happen as long as Labour and the left, the leadership of the Labour and the left, supports the Democrats. And instead of trying to reform the capitalist parties and the capitalist system itself, we need to smash them both.
Yes.
The Democratic Party and all its hangers-on belong in the dustbin of history, and none too soon. And for those who say that if working people try to build independently, that they will be marginalized, I have two things to say to them. One, the working class is marginalized in the Democratic Party.
That's right.
And two, our decade on the Seattle City Council, with me as one lone socialist city council member, stands in proud negation of all this mythology that you can't win if you build independently. We had Amazon, corporate landlords, Starbucks, the Democratic establishment, the Chamber of Commerce, and even the Latina progressive Democrats, all of us stacked against us. And yet, we won unparalleled victories, unparalleled for our times. They're not the first victories won by the working class, but they are unparalleled for our times. And we won that precisely because I used my office to build movements, not to hobnob with the Democratic Party politicians.
Woo!
In closing, I want to say all our fights are connected. Our fight for Zahid, our fight to stop the deportations, our fight to end the genocide, our fight for free healthcare for all by taxing the rich, and to win any of these things, we need to stop taking no for an answer from these supposed leaders.
That's right.
We need to stop listening to the gatekeepers who tell us what we can and we can't say, that we need to stop criticizing the Democrats. We need to build mass movements independent of both parties. We need to build campaigns independent of both parties of the billionaires to fight back and win, because history tells us we can and that we must do that. Solidarity.
Woo!
have just one more speaker that we've added, but I want to echo what Shama said and what we've been saying, that fighting against this attack, fighting against the abduction, the detention of Zahid Chaudhry is connected to the fight against the attacks on all immigrants, on all working people, and on the anti-war movement. We have to demand an end to the genocide in Gaza. We have to demand an end to all military aid to the Israeli state to stop that genocide, to stop the occupation, the brutal occupation of both Gaza and the West Bank. We have to combine these movements. We have to get back to the roots of the militant anti-war movement, of the militant labor movement. And there is a long-time slogan of the labor movement that an injury to one is an injury to all.
That's right.
An injury to one is an injury to all. An injury to one
It's an injury to all.
An injury to one
It's an injury to all.
An injury to one
It's an injury to all.
An injury to one
It's an injury to all.
I want to finally introduce a disability and anti-war activist, David Griffiths.
Hi. I'm here today for my friend Zahid.
You gotta turn that thing up.
How's this? Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I am here today for my friend Zahid. I am here today for everyone in this fucking concentration camp. But most importantly, I am here today for you. I want to bring you a gift. I want to show you a sign. You probably heard the slogan from Workers' Strike Back: when we fight, we win.
Yeah.
I want to show you proof that that is true. I know what we can do because I know what we have done. Zahid and myself and everyone that we have worked with. I want to call your attention to this flagpole on my back. That flagpole is the radio antenna for the striker assault vehicle. Not just any striker assault vehicle, but one of the last of those vehicles to ever be shipped out of the port of Olympia.
Yes.
Woo.
Yeah.
Because of the port militarization resistance movement that Zahid and I were both a part of. We drove the U.S. military out of our port.
Hell yeah.
And we burned a Navy spy in the process. So yeah, when we fight, we win.
Yeah.
Woo.
When we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight, 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 free Zahid now!
Free Zahid now. Free Zahid now. Free Zahid now.
Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now! Free Zahid now!
I want to remind everyone we need to get organized. And David reminded me of the longshore workers, the port workers who have refused to ship weapons to Israel, the workers in Turkey and Italy and France and some brave and militant workers in the United States who have been organizing for that, calling to shut down those weapons shipments to the Israeli state. We won. Shama led the movement alongside Arab and Muslim activists for the the second and strongest ceasefire in the country after Dearborn, Michigan. And we led that fight. We have to extend that fight. We need to build that fight. We need to escalate. We need to escalate the fight to free Zahid. And so I encourage everybody, take these next steps. First, come out to the protest tomorrow, right here at 2 p.m. We have dozens of people out here. We need hundreds. We need to organize in the thousands to demand an end to this. This is an injury to all of us. This is an attack on all of us, on immigrants, on the anti-war movement, on working people. So please come out tomorrow at 2 p.m. Sign up with Workers Strike Back. Come out on September 10th to New Hope Baptist Church at 6 p.m. for our next monthly meeting in Seattle. Come out on September 7th if you can't make it in person to our national Zoom meeting. Let's get organized. Let's build a movement independent of the Democratic and Republican parties, and let's fight to free Zahid, free all immigrants, stop the deportations, and shut down ICE. Thank you, everybody. Solidarity. One more announcement.
Quick announcement that if you're not done shouting and protesting, you can head right down the grass this way, and Tudo for Solidarity and La Resistencia, who's been working to shut this place down for over 10 years, are having one of their regular Saturday Solidarity Days. So come on down.
Thank you. And that's just on the way here. Solidarity, everybody.
No.